I do. I do. And not even from an egotistical standpoint. I just feel like there's certain ideas that run faster than where I'm necessarily running, or who I'm trying to convey these ideas to. It's like my mind sees it clearly. My mind sees it in HD, but sometimes out my mouth it's 280p or whatever. It's 400p. The quality is not exact. I can't describe it to a T. I can only do it.
Right.
So I sit down at a keyboard and sit in front of my computer and I'll create, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'm getting there. But I think what was the biggest difference now in this project was that I had people to access who were like, look, I don't have to know what your vision is, but I can do what you're saying.
Right.
And they were able to bring together bring to life ideas that I've had for years that I wanted to do. I had to get somebody at the level of a THX for Nothing But Love. I've been wanting to do that for the longest.
Right.
I had to get somebody with the musicianship of Oh Gosh Otis to bring together these ideas so I can do a cover song of a domino. But I can't do it all on my own.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen.
Right. Right.
I come from the sitcom era. I come from the Fresh Prince era where he'll be talking to his character and then look to the TV audience for their reaction.
Right. Right.
I think that's something that subconsciously drops into my writing, in that I want to give you that I'm in this situation. I'm very in this situation. But at the same time, I need to give you perspective that's me in my head, because that's the reality of it. A lot of times I'm in my own head. I think too much. I said it on the album a few times. And so I need you to see this perspective. It's like I'm telling you a story and I'm dipping into the story. It's like we're watching a movie, right? And it's like I'm giving you the director's cut. So that's literally my idea of giving you the director's cut on it. But it's very necessary. And that's a very dominant thing throughout the project, which is relationships and women.
Absolutely.
And people always say like, oh my God, women are the biggest consumers of music, but we treat them like shit. And I say we because I've made songs that are like stereotypical in my past. Like I got all of these women and I got all of these yada yada yada, and then you look up to a show and notice that you're surrounded by nothing but dudes.
You're right.
Nobody. But see, the thing happened is, along that 3-year process, these are questions I was asking myself that nobody else was asking. It was, I bring it up and they're like, oh, you tripping, man. It's just, it's just what it is now. Like, they come, but that's not what it was. What happened was that it had become so male-driven. Hip-hop had become so male-driven. Even the underground hip-hop scene had become so male-driven, and such a sword fight of who's the best lyricist, that they forgot about the people who are the backbone. They're the backbone to just society in general, but to our music.
So how do you react when a lot of people knock people like Drake, for example?
I can't hate because I knocked Drake. I knocked Drake initially. I didn't get it. You know why? Because I was a testosterone-driven male, and I was like, the hell is this underwater music bullshit? And here I am making Raging Waters, right? No, because when you're a male and you're a young male and you want to hear banging beats, you want to hear loud bass, you want to hear it's kind of like how now the crunk in that era for me was how like trap is now, and how like dudes just want to go to a show and do this. Every song, oh man, I'm here. This is what they want, But at the same time, there's more to it. You start to grow up. You start to become a man, and you actually get into relationships. Like I proposed to my fiance at Paid Dudes, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she's very important. She's very important to me and very important to my development as a man, because here I go from sleeping on couches to now being the man of a household, and they rely on me to get out there and get it. That has a profound effect on my writing pen, profound effect on how I speak about women, because I'm an example to a child. So that being said, I couldn't do the same things that I was doing and not ask the questions. And then I started looking at shows, and it's funny. I read a book one time, and the author said, any hit music that you can think of is either about a woman or it's for women.
Right.
So you got your I'm a survivor, I won't gonna give up. And you got songs that are directly related that are to women. Every song, every hit song you can think of. You got your oddities, like even like you think about like Bobby Shmurda.
Mm-hmm.
You have your songs that come up, the Shmurda, you know, and those come up and people follow and
Annie up.
Annie up. You got your exceptions to the rule, but at the same time, there are more people going through relationships than there are people who are shooting shit up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or who are, you know, players and whatever the case may be. Like there's more of that going on.
Do you think that, you know, part of my issue with that kind of underground music or just that kind of music in general sometimes is that it paints a 2D picture of what it's like to be a man.
Right, right. And it's not a 2D picture at all.
Right, it's not a 2D. Like, men are more than like we shooting up the club or we,
Right.
you know, we bagging chicks or whatever.
Right.
Do you think that the mentality almost limits you as an artist sometimes to create music that goes at the spectrum of what it's like to really be
Right.
a dude?
I think that aside from the music, I think in general, I think men can, we as men, we don't always like to express our feelings, and to other men especially. You know, you don't want to express all the time about, oh, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like this. It's just not really in our nature. We'll do that in the presence of a woman, right? But the thing about it is, the one perspective is being told that the one perspective is being told that because one, it sells. It's been a proven model that it sells, and two, men do not want to come to grips with some of those feelings they have. You know, it's a lot for a man to say like, I'm broke, and I don't know how I'm gonna afford to take you out on this date. You're not the superhero.
Absolutely.
Men, especially in hip hop,
There's an archetype.
you know, it's an archetype, right? You want to be the what do they call it? What kind of male?
Alpha male,
the
the
alpha
boss, the Jay-Z, the one who's
Jay-Z.
always on top.
You know?
Like my first Jay-Z verse when I really caught wind of his vulnerability, was on Volume 1. When he was talking about his shooting his brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And one of my favorite verses when he was like, I was scared and closed my eyes and squeezed.
Right.
And he was just like, and I just shot my nigga and I just ran off into the night. Like that was not my nigga.
Right.
And it was the first time that I really heard a dude really get at something that's more than just like the flash.
And people overlook that.
You know
And they
what I'm
overlook the importance of that because I think most artists and most of my peers look at those moments and say, you know, that's a real song and I can relate to it, but that's not what got them on.
saying? Right.
In their eyes, they're only thinking about the big pimpings. They're only thinking about the those type of songs, not realizing that these type of songs are more than just being hits. They're investments in people,
Right.
which is in essence an investment in your fan base. He makes a song like Song Cry.
Right.
These are investments in people.
Right.
These are investments in, you know, what you're saying is that I care so much about you that I'm going to share this story because I know somebody else is going through it, even if it doesn't make me sound like a superhero.
And another great example of that is 3 Stacks.
Oh, 3 Stacks, yeah. But 3 Stacks will tell you stories about, you know, the first time him and his cousin snuck to go, you know, watch Playboy
Right.
and how like he'll tell you, and that's what really first inspired me was that I said, man, he's telling stories in such detail that it's beyond the scope of what I've been understood to be a rapper, what
Right.
it means to be an artist, and what it means to be a man. Like he actually tells these stories, and he's still very masculine about it. And I think that's what kind of turned people off initially about Drake. What turned me off initially when I first heard it was that it was so focused on women that I didn't know what my place was listening to it.
Right.
But now, as a grown man in a relationship and having been through so many relationships as I have before, in like some very tumultuous relationships, I can look back and say, like, man, that's a bold move, but it's genius.
But there's a difference, right? There's a difference between like comparing Drake and 3 Stacks.
Right.
There's a difference between making music for women and making music or about women and
Right.
making music that includes women.
Right. Well,
So it's like
pandering. You know, you got your Keith Sweat. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. I need you to come in here. You know, and you're right. I think there's that direct. You know, but at the same time, it's almost like when you're going to go speak to a woman that you see in the mall or you see, you know, in public, and you want to go speak to her. There's two different approaches.
right.
There's the yo, girl, like, what's good? Like, fine. I think I need your number and I want to take you out. But that approach, and sometimes that works. Sometimes for certain guys that works. And there's the other approach that's kind of like, yo, I saw you over here and, you know, I thought you were cute. You know, I don't want to be offensive if you got a man or whatnot. There's that approach too.
Right.
So I think that doesn't change when we talk about creating music.
Right. But you know, one of the songs that really, you know, tugged at my heartstrings was I Apologize. Mm-hmm. You know, I was wondering if you could sing that up.
Let's do that.
When I look inside, deep inside your eyes, I don't wanna see you cry. I apologize, my love. We know both that I got some ugly ways. We know both that I say some ugly things, my love. You told me this morning you don't love me no more, and I don't blame you. These days I don't love myself. I don't know who I am, and I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for work, but no positions.
Man.
Yeah, it got real.
That got real. You know, when I first heard that song, it reminded me of one of my other favorite, or just not favorite, but just really like, that's poetry. Like Absol Book of Soul.
Yeah.
Talking about Lori and that whole thing. And I was like, and there's some parts in it that reminds me of that line where he was like, you know, I love you in a place where there's no space and time.
Right.
Can you describe like what was happening during that song?
I think that
was that real? Was that a real story?
Completely real. I think that's going to trip people out because even, you know, when I showed this song to my boy Chuck Dizzle from Homegrown Radio, you know, he was like, you know, man, that's a crazy story. And I'm like, yeah, it's even crazier that it actually happened.
Right.
You know, I think the reason why A Book of Soul resonates the way it does with people, because it's not the first time I've heard that, you know, to be a song, and it's hard for me too because like I knew a Lori, and it's hard for me to hear that song and separate the story from like the pure genius of it. And the thing that those two have in common, I think, is just the fact that it's all based on reality.
Right.
You know, my last project, I made a song called Post-it Note. And I'm telling people how, you know, I'm explaining how I met my fiance. And I'm explaining how, like, how what I felt and the insecurities and how nervous I was when I first talked to her. And I'm explaining that aspect of it, but I can't just give you that perspective of it and not give you, I give you the good, I can't not give you the bad. So, just like any relationship, you know, we've had our rocky roads and our times where it's like, yo, can we do this anymore? You know, did I make a mistake proposing to you?
Right.
I didn't mean that. Should I have even said that?
Right.
But I said that.
Right.
Damn, I'm acting like my dad again. You know, like certain things are coming out in that song that it's hard for her to even listen to. Mm-hmm. Because she knows, like, yo, I remember the day, the time, what was going that day.
That's an emotional timestamp.
Emotional timestamp, and I think that it's more important for me to tell that perspective of it than, you know, make a bunch of songs about how it feels to be in love. Because, yes, there are times where we are greatly in love, but those tribulations, those very trying times, we got to speak to those. Mm-hmm. We're talking about with Jay-Z, you know, and you're talking about the song cries, or the song we're talking about Shooting His Brother. Like, these are songs that are an investment in people.
It's honesty.
It's honesty. It has to happen.
And so much of the game, man, is not being honest. So much of the game is, and by the game I mean hip hop or rap, is presenting yourself as something that's aspiration.
Right.
But it's not necessarily honest. Like, why decide to be so honest?
I try to think of it from this perspective. Imagine that 20 years from now, when music has advanced and it's completely more complex and intricate than it is now, imagine I look back on that time period the same way we may look back on the 80s and be like, man, if I was a rapper in the 80s, I would have murdered right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just that pure competitive nature. I'm like, man, in the era where everybody was doing the same thing, in the era where everybody was doing the same thing, I literally just had to be myself. I would have murdered in that time period.
Right.
So I'm living with that. That's another part of my drive too, is that I look at it like, well, everybody's complaining about, oh, everything sounds the same, everything is this and that, and this is, you know, this is crazy. And I'm like, this is the best time to be an artist. All the music is repetitive, really? So if I switch a few words, I stand out? this is the greatest time to be a creative. This is the greatest time to be yourself. And so I look at this time period and say, like, I have a responsibility to ride my own lane. I have a responsibility to tell my story. Like, nobody comes to these shows, and it's crazy because Aticophobia was full of songs, like, had a song called Fuck Cancer, and songs like that were very, like, based in reality, but I toured them around the U.S., and what happened was I was emotionally drained.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people are telling me stories about how their relative passed from cancer, and it's like, I'm not a therapist,
Right.
so I can only offer so much words of encouragement, and until I feel like, man, like, am I not helping? Am I being, you know what I mean? Am I not being
you're an artist, man.
I'm an artist, you know what I mean? And when I make these investments, now I understand what they are and what they're for. This may not be a song we perform all the time, you know, but this definitely will be a song that people would say, yo, when I heard that, I became a fan.
There's so many different sounds on the record. Like, why choose to have such a variety of like such a lush variety?
Well, first of all, you know, I have to give all due respect to Oh Gosh Leotis for bringing a track like this, or even creating a track like this. Me and him did a lot of back and forth throwing ideas out, and you know, it was the first time I was able to work with a producer that can, you know, put it into action. I have all these ideas in my head, you know. I know I sound like the guy from Hustle and Flow. I got all the ideas in my head. I know I sound like him, but that's literally what it was, and he was able to bring it to life. And what kind of sparked me to want to make something that sounds as big, like, to me, this is like festival music. This is music that I see, you know, stadium full of people, you know, all really vibing to. And this is just, it sounds bigger than the room it was made in.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like stadium music made in a bedroom size, you know, setting. That was important to me to be able to accomplish that. And I tell you, an artist that I was listening to at the time is a dude named John Bellion. He was a songwriter, singer, and producer. He wrote Monster for Rihanna.
Right.
He has a bunch of different writing credits, but just simply watching his behind the scenes videos and how much fun he was having and how he didn't have any rules on music. It wasn't like, this is a hip hop song, you can only use a piano, a bass line, a kick. It was no rules. It was literally like, again, that kid in the candy store thing, just get in there and just start creating. And so that's how it was with me and Oh Gosh Leotis. It was literally like, look, we don't have no time period. This is my house we're working out of. Let's do whatever we want to do. If we were to make stadium music from this small room, how would it sound?
How important is it as an artist to have that space? To
Your
really
own
try and-
space?
Yeah, really trying to dig in on something.
Everybody doesn't necessarily, you don't need it to begin, you know, because most people when they begin, they're like in their parents' crib or their, you know, their grandparents' crib or whatever. I don't think you need it to begin, but I think that eventually to evolve, you're going to need to get into a professional studio or even just a studio space of your own where the quality matches the ideas that you have, or people are forever going to perceive it in a different way. You're even going to perceive your own environment in a different way. You may not even necessarily shine as brightly as you would have shined had you not had certain elements. Now, I'm not saying you need $1 million studio. This wasn't recording $1 million studio. But at the same time, the equipment that we had was more than enough. And we maximized the hell out of it. And what happened was the attention to detail and all the stuff. Because it's funny, I met cats that have like crazy equipment.
Because people don't
Yeah.
necessarily do the whole we're in the same room thing.
Nah, you want to mail stuff in.
Anymore.
And you know what's crazy? I did it for Aticophobia. People loved it. They were like, "Oh man, you guys were in such a you were in sync." And I was like, "It's crazy." They wouldn't believe how many beats were mailed in
Right.
because somebody was in Texas or somebody was in Arizona. But the reason it worked was because I gravitated to their music because it came from a real place. I wrote music from a real place, so that's why it worked. But it has limitations. Now I could have followed that same formula and gave you another Aticophobia, but there would have been no growth.
Right.
The growth happened because in life the growth happened. So as I'm sitting in there with a producer that I'm looking at him like, bro, you might be a better producer than me. That makes the room so much more fun to be in. So that's what you're hearing. You're hearing a room where egos are not involved, and it's just literally like, yo, you inspired me to do something crazy. I inspired you to do something crazy. Like, what else can we do?
For 3 years.
3 years.
You know?
And it wasn't even 3 years of creating music, to be honest with you.
Right.
It was about 2.5 years of getting my life right. Because I even talk about it on the song Hard to Say, right? I even talk about how, I went from being in a label situation and having, my brothers to rely on, to them not understanding that my life, my career skyrocketed. My personal life went to dumps.
Why don't you give
Let's
me a
run
little
it.
bit of that?
Yeah.
They say family business is family business, and that's the gospel. But what do you do when your family becomes hostile? I know it's pain that made you show off my dirty laundry. I'm not ashamed, just never saw you cross.
We talked about this earlier, about, dudes not really expressing themselves.
Right.
For real. And you talked about, missing your brothers. Can you just
Right.
talk about that situation?
Like I had mentioned earlier, I was, a part of an independent label, but it was more than that. It was folks that, literally like my brothers. The closest thing that I had to my brothers, to having brothers, I only had, younger sisters growing up. They were the closest thing I had to brothers, because we literally started from like nothing, and we pushed each other to put out projects. We moved like a football team, and that was like 4 years of our lives that we'll never get back, but it was a lot invested. So when I was the first one to leave that situation, I was looked at in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at that person like, oh, you being disloyal or any of that stuff. But,
Ice Cube NWA.
but I mean, at the same time, nobody, now in retrospect, you look at Ice Cube, and not to say that those situations match up,
Right.
but to put it in context, like, I had to make that move. It wasn't a music decision, 100%. Like, the majority of that, about 80-20, the majority of that was that, look, I need to do things with this 20% that are going to take care of this new family that I have. I got a fiance, stepson, and, I've always said I want to take care of my mom, at one point, and I got to take care of myself too. And it's like, I can't do that running the way that we're running right now. The business of things is just, we're not matching up. Not to say this is bad, but I can't do it, and I was looked at as selfish for a second. I was told to my face that I was being selfish. But, when you're looking at every Black Friday is passing by and everybody's like, yo, I'm getting ready to buy this, this camera, this TV, I'm about to get, and I'm like, there's no reason for my black ass to be out there at 2 in the morning because I don't have the money. I would never have the money. Every Black Friday I was broker than the last one.
Right.
I used it as a checkpoint, didn't see progression.
Right.
So that was literally what I was living, and I do miss the times we had making music, because those they still are my brothers. And it's crazy now because, like, obviously we've grown up and we're all family men, and the dichotomy changes, but that song was made very much in the moment of all of that going on.
Got you. The next song definitely left me with an impression. Damn, homie.
Damn.
Everyone's gonna ask you who you're talking about, but first, I'll take track a little bit.
Damn, homie, coming up.
Damn, homie. Last year you was a man, homie. But what the fuck happened to you? And we say, damn, homie. Last year you was a man, homie. But what the fuck happened to you? And we say, damn, homie. But what the fuck happened to you? And we say, damn, homie.
I am definitely showing more of my personality on this and stuff that I've been kind of giving you hints of. But, I love energy. I love trap music. I love, I love just sometimes just being an asshole and just talking my shit. Because I feel like, you know, because I'm generally the nice guy, that people take it for granted, and that, you know, sometimes you'll get people that think that because you're nice, they'll take it for meekness, as opposed to a place of power. And you gotta remind people, you know, like, look, don't get it tricked, don't get it like it's not all sweet, you know, and that's what Damn Homie was. Damn Homie was an opportunity to be like, it's crazy how, like you said it earlier, I've been part of all these different waves of hip hop and have been able to stand the test of time. I've seen so many artists. Yo, I'm that dude. I ain't got no time for Curtis. Get out my way. Get out my way. Get out my way. Yo, Curtis, what you got popping? I'm just doing this. Just slowly. It's slowly. They skyrocketed. It was on every blog, all of this. And then it's that. And then 3 years later, I forgot the name. And then they knock it on my door.
Right.
You know, so it's not nobody in particular. It's more like a gumbo pot of all that frustration.
Right.
'Cause I feel like, you know, I never do anybody like that. Nobody has a story where I stunted on them or I was Hollywood on them. I treat everybody with equal respect, and even when I'm busy, I let them know, like, yo, I just can't do it. You know, I feel like that's more respectable than nothing at all.
Right.
And then when you're in need of something, I have to be all of a sudden accessible and then do it now.
Right.
No. Damn, homie.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a dope one, man. It's probably one of my favorite records on the record.
Featuring Daylight and Stevie Crooks.
Exactly, and that's an interesting look for Daylight. You know what I mean?
And I'm sure that, you know, Daylight did what Daylight does. You know what I mean? Like, people don't even know. Like, I worked at Quiznos with this dude years and years and years ago. I've known him for years. But he came through and we worked on a few records that night, and this happened to be one of them that I had already him in mind for. Because I always like, on every project that I've done, there's an odd combination collaboration. This is sort of like the Kanye influence on me. So like, I had a project Jetpack on E that had Ab Soul and this guy Stevie Crooks, right? The homie Stevie Crooks from Moreno Valley. And people were like, yo, how's that gonna sound? Then he came out. I had another where I had the homie Sean Fallion and OG from the IE Dirty Birdie on the same record, right? I don't know how that's gonna sound. Yo, that's actually dope. I'm hoping it's the same situation with this. People receive it like that. But either way, I'm a fan of the record. I enjoy it.
You know, I gotta ask, man. You know, you and Ab have a great chemistry.
Right.
How come he's not on the record?
It's a loaded question. It's a loaded question, you know, and it has nothing to do with Ab,
right.
You know. But and not just him. You know, you'll be surprised. Like with him, it's more of a label situation. You know, and he has obligations and responsibilities he has to fulfill. So I can't be mad at that at all. You know, and now people are probably gonna be like, oh man, where's Ab at? And you know, crazy thing about Ab is that every album that I release, whether he's on it or not, I always get a phone call. He's giving me like a very intellectual review of it, and how his point of view changes from every album and where he sees my growth.
Right.
And I always appreciate that of him. So that to me is more valuable than a verse or a 16. That's the homie forever. But some people I reached out to that no response at all. People who said they wanted to build with me, and it just didn't happen. You know, and ever once that you see me on those Twitter fingers getting subliminal, you know, every once that you see any of that kind of activity, I just took it in stride, and I was more thankful because I'm like, oh, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Right.
We don't have that kind of relationship. We only cool when you see me in public.
Right.
But we get on social media and all of that, you don't know who I am.
Right.
So all of that stuff is the kind of stuff the aggression and stuff that you're seeing in a Damn Homie. It's like, okay, cool. It's better. These are the only 2 rap features on the entire project. Everything else is literally me. And it's crazy because of Ticophobia, one of the main complaints was that I had too many features. They wanted more of me.
Right.
And me being an insecure artist at that time, I didn't think that they wanted so much of me. Now I was like, well, not only do I not have a choice because nobody is reaching back when I'm reaching out to them, but I want to do this. You know what I mean? This is what God had in mind, and it's like I'm thankful I did it because it's the best music I've done.
So who do you work with on the record?
It's crazy because, like I said, I didn't work with a lot of rappers on this project, mostly singers. I had Brooke Taylor, who was just so important to this project. She would drive out from, you know, the outskirts of LA all the way out to Rialto where I'm at, just to like piece together ideas. And she helped me a lot when it came to me singing harmonies and things like that. And I even took vocal lessons, you know, and that was very important to the process of this project. Walter French on Be Alright, he came and provided such a huge hook. I needed his presence on that record. On Nothing But Love, you don't have Nothing But Love without that kind of 80s transition with Brooke once again, the homie Tone P. They really just brought that together, did an awesome duet on that. By the way, you have my friend Miss Chief, who's actually in her own band, like that does like a lot of rock elements, a lot of ska elements. So it's like, I like my Gwen Stefani for this project, you know what I mean? Right. But she's really dope in her own right, and was able to kind of like go back and forth with me between worlds or whatnot. Eric Tucker on Party for Two, excellent, ridiculous singer, very soulful dude. And then the cover, you have my friend Cassie,
right?
Really dope voice, dope singer, and yeah, she's really dope about, you know, singing lyrics about all the 90s hoes and hood rats and things like that. Shout out to Domino, he was singing about. But they made Raging Waters what it is, and I can't speak enough about B Honey. Right. You know, B Honey provided background vocals for Hump Day, as well as Overdue for Time. And I'm sorry, as well as Occupy Your Time. And yeah, they are more the story to me for this project. Like, they brought the ideas and all of that neo soul influence I've had since a child, all that R&B, they were able to bring it to that level. Yeah. You know? So, and of course, you know, to the rapper features with Daylight and the homie Stevie Crooks, and for sure, that was pretty much the gist of it.
You talked about fans getting finicky.
Yeah.
Do you think they might hear something like this and be like, "Oh man"?
Right. I mean, the thing that makes this beautiful, the whole rollout of this project, the whole presentation. Not once have you heard me say, "Share this with a friend." Not once have you heard me say, "Retweet, retweet, retweet," or reshare. I had asked nothing of the people. I simply said, "This is the space that I'm in as a creative. This is the room. You are invited. But if you come, you're coming on your own admission. At any given point, if you hear something you don't like, you may not rock with this one, you know, and that's fine. It's not a, you can go right back out that door." And it's been a very organic thing. And I think that the people who are going to gravitate towards it, who have been seeing the way that we've been presenting this project, are not going to be surprised by it. The thing that I hope that I don't hear, but I know I'm going to hear no matter what, is I'm slept on. Oh, Curtis King, man, he's so slept on, man. Have you heard his Raging Waters? Oh, y'all sleeping. And my thing was two things. One, if you're listening, that's what the point of it is. The point of it is to bring people in who naturally gravitate to it, who want to be here.
Right.
I'm not looking for the people who are naysayers. They can be naysayers. That's fine. They may be naysayers the rest of my career. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about you. You listening? Cool. Don't worry about everybody else. And the other part of it is, if you feel like I'm slept on, well, I only have so much power. I can create the music. I can put the music in the place it's supposed to be. But at the end of the day, if you don't spread the word, if you don't give it to the people that you think would genuinely be interested in it, then don't keep telling me I'm slept on. You know, the people who are woke stay woke, and they love it, you know, and it's for them. Anybody else, it's just not for them.
No doubt. I mean, I hope people rage to it.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying?
By all means.
Thanks for talking.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'ma be alright, okay? I'ma be okay, alright. Been grinding all my days, been fighting all my life, just to get through that door. Just to get through that door. I'ma be alright, okay? I'ma be okay, alright. Been grinding all my days, been fighting all my life. I'ma be alright.